Okay, wow, are you ready for this? We're diving deep into some seriously scary spy tech today.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
talking about a new version of spyware that not only steals all your info, but can actually brick your iPhone, like totally lock you out.
It's pretty alarming. I think what makes this case so interesting is that iPhones are often considered, one of the more secure devices.
Right.
So this really challenges that perception. And I think it shows that even the most secure devices can still be vulnerable.
Yeah, so this spyware is called LightSpy, and it was, first discovered back in 2020.
hmm
But this new version, way worse.
Yeah, it's a definite evolution from those early versions. We're seeing a shift from just simply stealing data to something much more aggressive. It's about control and disruption.
So how does this even work? How does this spyware actually get onto your phone?
Well, it's not as simple as clicking a bad link, is it?
I didn't think so.
No.
Yeah.
It's far more complex. Imagine this. There's a weak spot in the foundation of your iPhone's browser. Like a crack in the wall. LightSpy uses a trick called a WebKit exploit to slip through that crack and kind of get a foothold.
A crack in the wall. Okay, that's a good analogy. But it's not just sitting there, right? It has to do something once it's inside.
Exactly. Once it's in, it drops a file. This file is disguised as an innocent image, but it's actually a set of instructions called a Mako binary. And these instructions are basically like a blueprint. They tell your phone to download more malicious code.
So like a Trojan horse, right?
Uh-huh.
It sneaks in and then opens the gates for the whole army.
Precisely. And this army is a complex system called Framework Loader. And this pulls in the core of LightSpy along with a whole bunch of plugins from a remote server.
Hold up, plugins? You mean like extra spyware features? Like how much spying can they pack into one piece of software?
That's the concerning part, right? The new LightSpy has 28 plugins.
Whoa.
It's a huge jump from just 12 in the previous version.
Wow.
And this tells us that the developers are actively adding capabilities, making it more and more powerful.
Okay, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. So what can these plugins actually do?
Well, think of it this way. If your phone was a house, LightSpy is getting the keys to every room. We're talking about your Wi-Fi information, screenshots, even your iCloud keychain, where you store all your passwords, financial data.
Wait, they can access my passwords, like see everything I type and take screenshots without me knowing? That's nuts.
Yeah, it's about as invasive as it gets. They can also get into your sound recordings, your photos, browsing history, your contacts, call logs, even text messages.
So basically, they can see everything you do and hear everything you say. It's like having a spy living in your pocket.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate way to put it.
Oh, man.
But it gets worse. Remember we talked about those destructive features?
Yeah.
Some of these plugins can delete your files, wipe your contacts, even freeze your device completely.
Whoa, wait a minute. Freeze the device, like make it totally unusable. How can they even do that?
Well, they exploit vulnerabilities in the operating system to essentially disrupt vital functions. Imagine it like cutting the brakes on your car.
Right.
It's not pretty. It can cause a major crash.
So this is way beyond just stealing data. They're trying to take control of your phone and potentially, like, sabotage it.
Yes, the level of control LightSpy offers is incredibly concerning. It gives the attackers the ability to not just spy on you, but to actively disrupt your life.
And then this whole thing with the fake push notifications, that's just plain sneaky. They're designed to look totally illegitimate, but when you click, bam, you're giving them even more control, right?
Yeah, it really preys on our natural tendency to trust those little notifications, right? You might think it's a reminder from your bank or a message from a friend, but in reality, you're opening the door for LightSpy to dig even deeper.
I've definitely clicked on notifications without thinking twice. It's scary how easy it is to fall for these tricks.
It really highlights how important it is to be aware of what you're clicking on and to question anything that seems out of the ordinary, even if it looks like a simple notification.
All right, so we've established that LightSpy is like a chilling example of how advanced mobile spyware has become.
Hmm.
But, I'm curious, how does this specific case connect to the bigger picture of cybersecurity? Like, what does it tell us about the trends we're seeing out there?
It's a great question. I think LightSpy really underscores the changing nature of cyber threats. We're seeing a shift from, what we call opportunistic attacks,
Okay.
where hackers kind of cast a wide net and hope to catch a few unsuspecting victims,
Mm-hmm.
to these highly targeted campaigns, where specific individuals or organizations are, meticulously researched
Oh, wow.
and attacked with these precision tools like LightSpy.
So it's less about like random attacks and more about like strategic espionage almost,
Yeah.
like a digital arms race almost.
Exactly. And this isn't just limited to mobile spyware.
Right.
This shift is happening across the entire cybersecurity landscape. We're seeing nation-state actors, criminal organizations, even hacktivist groups using these sophisticated tools and techniques to get what they want.
So the bad guys are definitely upping their game.
Yeah.
But are the good guys keeping up? You know? Like, what are we doing to fight back against these threats?
Well, it's a constant battle, but there is progress, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing advancements in threat intelligence, which is basically like having spies in the digital world.
Oh, okay.
Gathering information about the attackers.
Right.
And detection capabilities are getting better. Like having better security systems to spot intruders.
So it's not all doom and gloom. We're not just sitting ducks, like, waiting to be hacked.
Not at all. It's a very dynamic field, and we are constantly learning and adapting. Think of it like a game of chess. Both sides are always trying to outmaneuver each other.
Okay. That makes me feel a little bit better. This whole situation with LightSpy and just, like, everything we're talking about.
Yeah.
It really makes you think, like, how do we balance security and privacy in a world where, everything is connected? It seems like every time we get a cool new gadget or app,
Yeah.
we're opening ourselves up to more vulnerabilities.
You've hit on a very important point.
Yeah.
It's a question we are all grappling with as a society. How much are we willing to give up in terms of privacy for the sake of convenience and
Right.
connectivity?
It's like we're constantly being asked to choose, right? Do we want the ease of having all our information in the cloud
Right.
accessible from anywhere?
Yeah.
Or do we want the security of, keeping everything offline, locked away in a vault somewhere?
It doesn't always have to be in either situation,
All right.
We can have both. Think about it like this. You can have a high-tech security system for your home,
Mm-hmm.
but you still lock your doors, right?
Yeah.
The same applies in the digital world.
Mm-hmm.
Strong passwords, two-factor authentication, encryption. These are like the locks on your digital doors.
Okay, that's a great analogy. But even with those measures in place, it feels like we're still vulnerable, to these sophisticated attacks like LightSpy.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we can do as individuals to protect ourselves? Like, are there any practical tips that you can share?
Absolutely. Staying informed and being proactive is key.
Yeah.
The more you understand about the threats out there,
Right.
the better equipped you are to defend against them.
So stay informed, stay vigilant,
Yeah,
and don't be afraid to question anything that seems fishy.
exactly. And remember, cybersecurity is a shared responsibility.
What do you mean by that?
Well, tech companies need to keep developing more secure operating systems and apps.
Oh.
Researchers need to keep hunting for those vulnerabilities and sharing their findings.
Right.
And law enforcement needs to be working to track down and prosecute the criminals behind these attacks.
So it sounds like we're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
Users, developers, security experts, law enforcement. We all have a part to play in making the digital world a safer place.
Exactly. It's a team effort.
Well said. It sounds like we've covered a lot of ground today. Maybe we should take a moment to, like, recap the key takeaways from our deep dive into LightSpy
Okay.
before we move on to, like, what we can actually do about it.
That's an excellent idea. I think a concise summary can help solidify what we've learned today.
All right, so let's take a minute and do a quick recap of what we've learned about LightSpy. It's super scary, right?
Oh, yeah.
This spyware that targets iPhones.
Mm-hmm.
And, it can do a lot more than just steal your data.
Yeah.
We're talking about your phone being totally wiped or even made completely useless.
And it's really unsettling because the spyware is going after iPhones, which are supposed to be like the most secure devices, right? So
Yeah.
it's a real wake-up call. It shows that no device is completely immune to these attacks.
Exactly. It's like finding out Fort Knox isn't as impenetrable as we thought.
Yeah.
So what can people do? Like, how do we actually protect ourselves from this stuff?
Well, first and foremost, keep your iPhone updated.
Okay.
Apple releases security updates all the time. And those updates actually patch vulnerabilities, which makes it much harder for attackers to exploit them.
So those annoying little update notifications.
Yeah.
We shouldn't ignore them.
Don't ignore them. They're like reinforcing the walls of your digital fortress.
I like that. Okay, so update your phone. What else?
And, while we're on the topic of being vigilant, be really careful about clicking links from sources you don't recognize,
Right.
especially ones that are embedded in those push notifications.
Right, those fake notifications.
Exactly. They can be so convincing.
They are.
It's always better to be safe than sorry and just avoid clicking anything that seems the least bit suspicious.
Yeah, if it looks fishy, don't click it. Okay,
Oh,
got it. Anything else?
Oh, and don't forget about app permissions. It's so easy to just tap allow without even thinking.
Oh, yeah.
But you really need to be mindful of what you're actually allowing those apps to do on your phone.
Okay, so like check what they have access to.
Right.
Okay, and don't just blindly allow it.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. What else?
Strong, unique passwords for every single account. It's a must.
Okay.
Don't use the same password for multiple accounts. And whenever you can, turn on that two-factor authentication.
Two-factor, yep.
It adds like an extra layer of security.
Got it. So update your phone, be careful what you click on, check those app permissions, and use strong passwords. It seems like a lot, but if it can protect me from something like LightSpy,
Yeah,
it's worth it.
absolutely. Those simple steps can make a huge difference.
Now, you mentioned earlier, about cybersecurity being a shared responsibility, right? What did you mean by that?
Well, it's not just on the users. Tech companies need to be doing their part, developing those secure operating systems and applications.
Okay, yeah, make the software more secure in the first place.
Right. And researchers, they need to keep, uncovering vulnerabilities and sharing that information. And of course, law enforcement agencies, they need to be working to track down and prosecute the criminals behind these attacks. It's a group effort.
It sounds like we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Users, developers, security experts, law enforcement, we all have a part to play in making the digital world a safer place.
Exactly. The more informed and aware we are as individuals,
Right.
the better equipped we'll be to protect ourselves and contribute to a safer online environment.
Well, this deep dive into LightSpy, it's been pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's scary to think that stuff like this is out there.
It is.
But it's also empowering to know, there are things we can actually do about it.
Knowledge is power.
Right.
And in cybersecurity, that's definitely true.
Yeah, well said. Okay, we've covered a lot today, but here's one final thought I want to leave you with. As technology keeps advancing at this crazy pace, how do we make sure that security keeps up? It's a big question, but it's one that we need to think about if we want to enjoy all the amazing things technology can do without being constantly at risk.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into LightSpy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Until next time, stay safe out there.